You're trespassing." The frigid voice shattered in my ear, and a pale hand clamped down on my throat. I fought to open my eyes, meeting a pair of venomous black voids. "Look, lady, it's 3 in the morning. Can you please let a guy sleep?" I gasped, struggling. "Also, according to the agreement we signed, the living room is mine and the bedroom is yours. You coming out here in the middle of the night means you breached the contract. My name is Alex Vance, and I'm a broke disaster who graduated straight into unemployment. To survive in the absurdly expensive city of Boston, I rented an old, decaying apartment at a price so low it was scandalous. The landlord, an old man named Miller who was clearly a few screws loose, insisted on a specific ritual when we signed the lease. He kept repeating, 'Son, no matter what you hear at night, don't open the door and don't look out the window. Pretend nothing happened, understand?' I was desperate for a place to crash and barely registered his ramblings, dismissing them as the superstitious mutterings of an old eccentric. I just nodded and signed. On moving day, I was exhausted, having worked like a dog. I threw a mattress onto the living room floor and passed out on the pull-out sofa. The apartment only had one bedroom, and since the living room was spacious enough, I hadn't bothered to move into the main room yet. In the dead of night, I was woken by a long, drawn-out wail. It was mournful and piercing, chillingly clear in the silence, sounding like it was squeezed out from between clenched teeth. It made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. The sound seemed to be coming from the tightly sealed bedroom. My heart sank as I recalled the landlord's warning. No way. Was this cheap place actually a notorious murder pad? I summoned my courage, crept toward the bedroom door, and pressed my ear against it. The crying was clearer now, accompanied by the horrific, scraping sound of fingernails dragging across the wood. Screech, screech, making my gut clench. "Who's in there?" I tentatively called out. The crying stopped instantly. A profound, deadly silence descended upon the apartment, far more terrifying than the wails had been. Cold sweat prickled my back. Just as I debated whether to break the door down, a glacial female voice spoke from inside. "Get lost." That single word, laced with bone-deep cold, snapped me back to reality. I wasn't a hero. I was just a broke guy trying to save money. Since the occupant inside had made her wishes clear, I decided not to push my luck. I retreated quietly to the pull-out sofa, pulled the blanket over my head, and mentally recited the Serenity Prayer, hoping the invocation of calm would disperse the dread. But that night, I was plagued by nightmares. In the dream, a long-haired woman in a red dress chased me, demanding, "Why? Why did you steal my home?" The next morning, sporting 2 massive dark circles under my eyes, I decided to negotiate terms with my neighbor. I bought 2 gourmet iced lattes, one for me, one for her, set the extra one gently outside the bedroom door, and knocked. "Hello, I'm a new tenant, Alex Vance. I know you're in there. I mean no harm. I just want to discuss something." I spoke to the door panel. Absolute silence from within. "I know this apartment used to be yours, and I sincerely apologize if I intruded. But look, how about we set some ground rules? We stay out of each other's hair. The living room is mine, the bedroom is yours, and we share the kitchen and bathroom. We maintain a peaceful cohabitation. What do you say?" I waited a long time, but the silence remained deadly. I sighed, placing the latte by the door. "This is a peace offering, a gesture from your new neighbor. If you agree to my proposal, drink the coffee. If you don't, well, throw it back out." With that, I returned to the living room, opened my laptop, and started applying for jobs on LinkedIn. The bedroom stayed quiet all day. It wasn't until evening, when I was heading to the kitchen to cook, that I passed the door and noticed the latte cup was gone. My heart lifted. Maybe there was hope. That night, I purposely cooked 2 extra dishes. I plated a portion and placed it respectfully by the bedroom door. "Dinner's ready. Left it by the door, okay?" I called out. Still no reply. But by the next morning, the plate and silverware were empty, scrubbed clean, and stacked neatly where I'd left them. I let out a sigh of relief. It seemed my ghostly roommate, while perhaps ill-tempered, was at least reasonable. Thus began my bizarre cohabitation with a roommate who was either a person or a spirit. The only communication between us was the food exchange at the door. I cooked daily. She ate it daily and washed the dishes. We lived like 2 parallel lines, maintaining a delicate, strange balance. That balance was shattered a week later. I'd bombed a job interview that day, felt miserable, and had a few glasses of whiskey that evening. Half awake in the middle of the night, driven by the urge to pee, I stumbled toward the bathroom. Passing the bedroom, I stopped, seized by a morbid curiosity. By the faint moonlight filtering through the window, I saw the bedroom door was slightly ajar. Curiosity outweighed fear, and I crept closer, desperate to glimpse the true form of my mysterious roommate. Through the crack, I saw a woman in a red dress, her back to me, sitting at a vanity table, slowly combing her long black hair. The moonlight bathed her, creating an indescribably eerie and tragic beauty. Just as I watched, captivated, her combing hand froze. Then, her head slowly rotated 180 degrees. The face that met mine was a nightmare. Paper white, completely bloodless, eyes two cavernous black holes weeping dark blood, a mouth stretched into an impossibly wide, exaggerated grin, seemingly laughing at me. "Do you like what you see?" she asked, her voice hollow and chilling. Terror ripped through me. My legs gave out, and I crumpled to the floor, unable even to scream. She slowly rose from the stool, advancing towards me step by step. Each step made the floorboards creak, sounding like someone was crushing my heart. Stay back." I scrambled backward, crawling away. "You violated the agreement." Her icy voice rang out directly above me. "You shouldn't have looked." A deathly cold hand clamped around my throat, and instant suffocation overwhelmed me. I struggled desperately, but it was useless. Her strength was astonishing, and my consciousness began to fade. Just as I thought I was about to die, I suddenly remembered something. "Wait," I yelled, straining every last bit of breath. Look at this." I fumbled in my pocket for a crumpled piece of paper, our non-aggression pact. The paper, actually, was something I'd written myself. The contents were simple. Party A, Alex Vance, and Party B, the red dress neighbor. Party A promises not to enter the bedroom or pry into Party B's privacy. Party B promises not to appear in the living room or common areas and not to harm Party A. Kitchen and bathroom are shared at scheduled times. Violation of terms results in consequences. I shoved the paper toward her. Her cavernous eyes looked at the document, and the grip on my throat actually eased slightly. "Agreement." A hint of confusion laced her hollow voice. "Yes, agreement." I grasped the lifeline, quickly explaining. "It's in black and white. We agreed. The living room is mine. The bedroom is yours." I looked at you. "Yes, but I didn't enter the bedroom, so that's not a major breach. But you came into the living room to kill me. That's unilaterally tearing up the contract." I don't know where I found the nerve to lecture a vengeful ghost on ethics, especially when facing death. Perhaps my logic was so absurdly specific that it stunned her. She hesitated, and her hand released my neck entirely. I scrambled up, crawling behind the sofa, watching her warily. She didn't pursue me, merely standing motionless. Her terrifying face was even more grotesque in the moonlight. Her red dress stirred without a breeze, and the air temperature seemed to drop to freezing. You're not afraid of me." She sounded genuinely surprised that I wasn't dead from shock. "I am. Terrified. My legs are still jelly." I gripped the sofa, my voice shaking. "But fear aside, we have to stick to the rules. We're roommates now, and the most important thing for roommates is peaceful coexistence, right?" She fell silent, her black, hollow eyes fixed on me, as if trying to peer into my soul. I felt profoundly unsettled, but forced myself to continue. "Look, I cook for you every day. I bought you coffee. I've shown good faith. Just treat me as a tool to provide your 3 meals. We stay out of each other's business. It's better that way." "The food." She spoke again, still icy, but the murderous intent had diminished. "It's delicious." I saw my opening. "Delicious is good. As long as you don't hurt me, I promise to make even better food every day. Michelin star meals, James Beard Award dishes, whatever I can make, it's yours." I promised, thump on my chest. She went quiet again. After a long moment, she slowly turned and walked back toward the bedroom. "Don't let it happen again." She dropped the warning, and her figure vanished behind the door. The bedroom door clicked shut with a sharp thud. I collapsed, utterly drained, breathing raggedly. Those last few minutes had been more exhausting than running a marathon. I picked up the crumpled agreement, looking at my hastily scrawled handwriting, half crying, half laughing. I couldn't believe this ridiculous document had actually saved my life. From that night on, I had a new understanding of my ghostly roommate, who I privately dubbed Ruby. She was terrifying, yes, but apparently, she adhered to contracts. Our cohabitation entered version 2.0. I continued to cook every day, and my culinary offerings became more varied. Ruby also remained compliant and quiet. Apart from timely meal retrieval and dishwashing, she caused no more mayhem. Occasionally, however, I would hear faint, lingering sighs coming from the bedroom in the dead of night. Long, sorrowful sounds that suggested infinite melancholy. I started to feel a flicker of curiosity about her story. Why had she died here? Why did her lingering resentment keep her from passing on, turning her into a vengeful spirit? One evening, I placed dinner by the door, as usual, and ventured an extra question. Did you like the meal tonight? I didn't expect an answer and was about to leave. The short ribs were too salty. A faint, whisper-thin voice drifted through the crack. I froze. This was the first time she had initiated non-food-related communication. I quickly apologized. My bad, I got heavy-handed with the salt shaker today. I'll be careful tomorrow. The brief exchange excited me. This was a breakthrough. The next day, I made sure to prepare the barbecue short ribs exactly how she liked them, seasoning them perfectly. When delivering dinner, I plucked up the courage to speak again. So, my name is Alex Vance. I still don't know yours. Silence inside the door. I thought she was ignoring me again, but just as disappointment set in, a phrase drifted through the crack. I forgot. Forgot? How could someone forget their own name? I was filled with confusion, but didn't dare press her, fearing I'd upset her. No problem, then I'll just call you Ruby, I suggested tentatively. The silence returned. I took it as a tacit agreement. Days turned into weeks, and my communication with Ruby increased. Although we never saw each other, that first terrifying encounter didn't count. The fragments of dialogue through the door seemed to shrink the distance between us. She told me what she liked and disliked. She loved sweets, especially the lavender macarons I made. She hated ginger. Absolutely none, ever. I felt like I was caring for a picky, prideful younger sister. Sometimes, when word prospects were frustrating, I'd vent my complaints to the door panel. She never replied, but I knew she was listening, because the next morning, I would always find a little surprise by the door. Perhaps a small, dew-kissed wildflower picked from who knows where, or a small, shiny glass bead strung on a red thread. These trinkets held no monetary value, but they filled me with a strange warmth. A ghost was clumsily trying to comfort me. This eerie, domestic routine almost made me forget that she was a powerful spirit capable of ending my life instantly. Until Old Man Miller, the landlord, showed up again. He arrived carrying a bag full of yellow paper talismans, looking utterly terrified. Son, you're still alive. Seeing the landlord's face, as if he'd seen a ghost, I couldn't help but smile wryly. Yes, Grandpa, I'm fine. Couldn't be better. I ushered him in and offered him a glass of water. The old man didn't take the water. His eyes scanned the room nervously, lingering longest on the tightly closed bedroom door. His hand clenched the bag of talismans until his knuckles were white. Impossible. I've rented this place out multiple times. No one ever lasted a month. The shortest stayed one night and went completely crazy. He muttered, staring at me like I was an alien. My interest was piqued. This apartment definitely had a story. I want to know Ruby's history, too. Grandpa, please tell me, what's the real story with this apartment? The one inside. Who is she? I asked in a low voice. The landlord sighed and sat heavily on the sofa. It's a tragedy. His cloudy eyes showed a mix of fear and pity. The person who died here was my niece, Ruby Lynn. Ruby? So that was her full name. She was a poor, unfortunate soul. The landlord sank into memory. She was orphan young and raised by me. She was beautiful, but fiercely spirited. Later, she fell for a boyfriend, the original owner of this apartment. The man was an artist, looked decent enough, and had a silver tongue. He completely charmed Ruby. I warned her he wasn't reliable, but she wouldn't listen. She insisted on being with him. Then his paintings stopped selling, and he picked up gambling. Small bets at first, but it grew until he lost everything and owed vicious loan sharks a fortune. Ruby tried to help him pay off the debt, working at a factory by day and selling goods at a flea market by night. It wore her down to nothing. But that man was a bottomless pit. He'd take any money she earned straight to the tables. When he lost, he'd come back and take out his rage on Ruby, sometimes hitting her. I visited Ruby a few times, and she was covered in bruises, but she protected him, saying she just fell down. At this point, the old man pounded his knee in anger, his eyes welling up. I told her to leave him and come home, but she refused. She said she loved him and believed he would change. The result? To escape the debt collectors, that bastard secretly sold Ruby to a loan shark boss. Ruby was so spirited, she couldn't bear that kind of humiliation. The night before she was to be taken away, she put on a red dress, came into that bedroom, and hanged herself. A heavy weight settled in my chest, making it hard to breathe. I pictured the girl, Ruby Lynn, ending her young life in infinite despair. No wonder her resentment was so deep. After she died, the man was terrified. He sold the apartment overnight and ran. But this place, it's never been right since. Ruby's resentment was too strong. She refused to move on and stayed here. Any man who rented this place ended up tormented half to death. She said she hates men, all the men who lied to her. I couldn't sell or rent this apartment for a decent price, so I put up cheap. I thought you wouldn't last a few days either, but look at you. He stared at me in disbelief. You're okay? I stayed silent. I was okay probably because I never treated her as a ghost to be conquered or chased away, but rather as a roommate who deserved communication and respect. Grandpa, you should take these talismans back. I pushed the bag of yellow paper back toward him. Ruby hasn't hurt me. Old man Miller looked at me doubtfully. Really? She didn't come out at night to scare you. She did once, but we negotiated terms afterward, I said with a wry smile. We're roommates now. We actually get along pretty well. The landlord stared, mouth agape, unable to utter a word. He probably thought I was crazier than a ghost haunting his property. After seeing him off, my heart was heavy. I walked to the bedroom door, looking at the cold panel, filled with mixed emotions. Ruby, I whispered. I know everything now. Dead silence from inside. You must have been in so much pain. The moment the words left my mouth, a suppressed, soul-wrenching cry erupted from within the room. It was filled with despair, injustice, and endless agony, tightening the knot in my heart. This time, I felt no fear, only profound empathy. I said nothing more, just sat by the door, silently keeping her company. I didn't know what I could do, but at least I could let her know that someone in this world was willing to listen to her cry. The sobbing lasted a long, long time, finally fading into low, stifled whimpers. Thank you. 3 words drifted through the crack, husky and thick with tears. You're welcome. I leaned against the wall, answering softly. That night, an invisible bridge seemed to form between us. The next day, I left breakfast by the door as usual. This time, I included an extra lavender macaron. I knew she liked sweets, and maybe a little sugar would help her feel better after a bad night. Around noon, I was job hunting on my laptop in the living room when the bedroom door creaked open slightly. I jumped up, startled, eyes fixed nervously on the crack. A pale hand emerged from the gap, holding something small, which it gently placed on the floor. Then, the hand swiftly retracted, and the door closed again. I blinked, then cautiously walked over. On the floor was a small square wrapped in old newspaper. I picked it up and unfolded it. Inside was an old-fashioned, discontinued men's wristwatch. The face was yellowed, and the band was heavily worn, but it was clear the former owner had cherished it. What is this? I asked the door panel, confused. It's for you. Ruby's muffled voice came through the door. You're looking for a job, right? You need a watch for interviews. I held the cold watch, but a rush of warmth flooded my spirit. This watch might not be valuable to me now, but to her, who had nothing, this might have been the only possession she had left to offer. It was probably a gift she'd given that bastard ex-boyfriend when she was alive. And now, she was giving it to me. The implied meaning behind the gesture stunned me. This was her way of drawing a line, both with me and with her past. I put the watch on. It fit surprisingly well. The cool metal against my wrist felt like it carried the weight of years and emotions. Thank you, I really like it, I said to the bedroom door. There was no reply, but I knew she was behind the door listening. The watch truly seemed to bring me luck. That afternoon, I received a call for an interview at a mid-sized advertising agency for a copywriter position. The interview was scheduled for the next day. To show respect for Ruby's gift and to bring myself good fortune, I went downstairs for a haircut and dug out the only semi-respectable suit I owned. Standing in front of the mirror, looking at myself, suit, neat hair, and the watch, I felt a long-absent flicker of confidence. I have an interview tomorrow, I told Ruby when dropping off dinner, reporting my itinerary like a regular couple. If it goes well, I'm treating you to a massive feast. The voice from the door sounded lighter than usual. The next day, I woke early. Before leaving, I purposely stopped by the bedroom door. I'm heading out now. Wait, the door suddenly cracked open. A small sliver of red fabric extended from the gap, gently brushing the pocket of my blazer, as if smoothing out a wrinkle that wasn't there. Good luck. That soft touch and quiet encouragement made my heart skip a beat. I took a deep breath and nodded firmly. I will. The interview went surprisingly well. The interviewer, a highly competent woman named Diana Sterling, was intrigued by my practical experience, and we talked extensively. When I shared my unique insights into ad copy, I saw a spark of admiration in her eyes. Finally, she closed my portfolio, smiling. Alex Vance, right? You have great ideas. Can you start next Monday? The good news came so suddenly I almost couldn't believe my ears. Yes, absolutely I can. I was so excited, I nearly leaped out of the chair. Walking out of the office building and into the afternoon sun, I felt euphoric. The gloom of months of unemployment was lifted, and the future seemed bright. The first thing I did was rush into the nearest major supermarket and buy a mountain of groceries. Steak, shrimp, salmon, and her favorite strawberries, along with the ingredients for the lavender macarons. I hauled the bags home, yelling excitedly toward the bedroom door. "Ruby, I got the job. Starting Monday." The room remained silent. I didn't mind, humming as I entered the kitchen to prepare our celebratory feast. Pan-seared steak, jumbo shrimp scampi, herb-roasted salmon. I pushed my cooking skills to the limit. Finally, I made a simple strawberry shortcake with fresh cream and berries. I laid the magnificent dinner out on the living room table, then carried Ruby's plate to the bedroom door. Dinner served. Celebration feast. I knocked. After a moment, the door cracked open and Ruby took the plate inside. "Why did you make so much?" Her voice held a hint of surprise. "I'm happy. We have to celebrate." I laughed. "Oh, and I made strawberry shortcake for you dessert." A pause inside the room. "You eat it yourself," she said. "I can't come out." I paused, then realized. Our agreement stipulated that the living room was my territory. Although our relationship had softened considerably, she seemed to be strictly adhering to the contract. "No worries. I'll leave the cake plate by the door. Grab it when you want." I set the plate down. I returned to the dining table, facing the spread alone, and suddenly felt a little chilly. I wish she could come out and sit with me. The thought shocked me. I was actually hoping to share dinner with a ghost. I shook my head, dismissing the ridiculous idea. After eating, I cleared the dishes and prepared to wash them. Just as I stood up, I saw a note tucked under the bedroom door crack. I picked it up. The note contained 2 lines of delicate handwriting, though some parts were nearly ripped through the paper from the pressure of the pen. "Congratulations. Also, don't drink whiskey." I looked at the note, my heart warming. She was concerned about me. The reminder about drinking probably came from her memories of her abusive, alcoholic ex. "Got it," I whispered softly to the door. I carefully folded the note and put it in my wallet. My new job was smooth. The ad agency work was busy but fulfilling. My colleagues were easy to work with, and my boss, Diana Sterling, the woman who interviewed me, admired my creativity and gave me plenty of opportunities. My life was settling down. The salary wasn't huge, but it was more than enough to support myself and one ghost. My cohabitation with Ruby became increasingly harmonious. Every evening after work, I'd share funny stories from the office, which colleague messed up, which client had a bizarre demand. She would listen quietly, occasionally emitting a soft, faint laugh from behind the door. And when I worked late, she would always leave a light on for me. It was always the bathroom light. She claimed the living room light was too bright, and she disliked it. One time I caught a bad flu, too dizzy and weak to cook. Half asleep, I smelled a faint aroma of bland soup. I struggled to open my eyes and saw a steaming bowl of rice porridge on the living room table, next to a dish of finely sliced pickled vegetables. I knew she had made it. I picked up the bowl, took a sip, and though the taste was simple, it warmed me to my core. I started to crave this strange warmth. I even began to fantasize. If she weren't a ghost, if she were still alive, could we have something different? This thought intensified, especially as I realized I was developing an inappropriate crush on my boss, Diana Sterling. Diana was the archetypal corporate powerhouse, beautiful, efficient, and capable. She mentored me extensively at work and showed genuine personal concern. Female colleagues joked that Diana must have a thing for me. I admit I was attracted to Diana. She was brilliant and shone like the sun. Yet whenever I faced Diana's advances, my mind inevitably flashed back to that closed bedroom door and the figure in the red dress behind it. I was trapped in an emotional tug-of-war. On one side, the brilliant, tangible woman bathed in sunlight. On the other, the unseen, untouchable, tragic ghost in the darkness. I didn't know how to choose. Then came a night of the company retreat, karaoke night. I left early, unable to handle much alcohol. Diana, concerned, insisted on walking me home. Standing outside my dilapidated building, Diana looked at me with a complex expression. "Alex, are you keeping something from me?" Diana's question was a stone dropped into the tumultuous waters of my heart. What did I tell her? That I lived with a ghost, cooked for her daily, and she cooked soup for me when I was sick, sharing a bond one couldn't even define? She'd commit me to a psychiatric ward. "No, nothing," I mumbled, avoiding her gaze. "It's just, my place is a mess. It's not fit for guests." Diana clearly didn't buy it. She took a step closer, the street lamp halo outlining her elegant profile. "Alex, I can feel you deliberately keeping your distance. Is there something I'm doing wrong?" "No, You're great, honestly. I quickly denied it. It's my problem. Diana sighed, her voice tinged with frustration and disappointment. Fine, I won't push you. But Alex, I want you to know I'm serious about you. If you're in any kind of trouble, you can always talk to me. Then, she turned and walked away. Watching her dejected silhouette, I felt a stab of guilt. I had rejected a good woman's genuine affection. I dragged my feet upstairs. As I opened the door, a familiar, intense aroma floated out. Lavender macarons. On the living room table, there was a plate of exquisitely prepared macarons and a note. Eat something sweet when you feel down. It was Ruby's handwriting. I picked up a macaron and put it in my mouth. The sweet, soft taste instantly soothed my anxiety. She always found a way to comfort me when I needed it most. I walked to the bedroom door, leaned against it, and whispered, "Ruby, thank you." She laughed. Her low voice came from inside. I froze. How did she know about Diana? Did she? You saw her. Window. She was concise. I walked to the window, realizing that from my vantage point, the main entrance downstairs was perfectly visible. She must have seen the whole awkward exchange with Diana. "She's your boss?" Ruby asked, her voice devoid of emotion. "Yes. She likes you." It wasn't a question, but a statement of fact. I remained silent. "Why didn't you accept her?" Ruby's voice carried a subtle tremor I hadn't noticed before. "She's good. Better than me." "Ruby." I struggled for an explanation. "Are you pitying me?" Her voice suddenly sharpened. "Because I died horribly, because I was betrayed by a man, so you feel sorry for me and think you have a responsibility to me? Is that it?" "No." I instantly refuted. "I have never pitied you." "Then what is it?" She demanded. "You're afraid to accept her because of me. You're afraid this ghost will cling to you and hurt her, right?" Her voice was rising, growing hysterical. The room temperature plummeted several degrees. I could feel the long-suppressed resentment and insecurity building up, threatening to erupt. "Ruby, calm down, listen to me." I quickly tried to soothe her. "My rejection of her has nothing to do with anyone else. It's my own choice. I admit Diana is brilliant, but for her, I only feel professional respect, nothing more." I was telling the truth. After this strange cohabitation with Ruby, my interest in normal women had faded. My heart felt split by that door, half in the sunlight, half committed to the darkness. "You're lying." She wouldn't believe me. "Men are all liars. You're just like that monster who killed me, full of falsehoods." With a sharp shriek, the bedroom door was violently thrown open by an invisible force. Ruby, wearing the familiar red dress, hovered in midair. Her black hair whipped around her, and blood-red tears streamed from her hollow eyes. Intense resentment radiated from her, causing all the furniture in the room to shake violently. "Are you trying to trick me too? Are you planning to use me up and then abandon me?" She wailed, lunging toward me. I didn't move. I stood completely still, watching her. "Ruby," I said, meeting her eyes filled with pain and hatred, my words slow and deliberate. "If I wanted to trick you, I wouldn't have signed that ridiculous contract in the first place. If I wanted to abandon you, I would have moved out the first night you tried to kill me." My unexpected calm seemed to momentarily disarm her. She stopped less than 2 feet away, the chilling spiritual energy almost freezing me solid. "I don't know what my feelings are for you," I admitted frankly. "Maybe it started with pity, maybe it grew into habit, maybe it's love. All I know is I don't want to leave this place now, and I don't want you to leave either. I don't know if we have a future, since we're separated by life and death. But I can promise you this. As long as I live here, I will take care of you. I won't lie to you, and I certainly won't abandon you." I reached out, tried to touch her cold cheek. The moment my fingertip brushed her skin, an icy chill shot through me, like touching millennia-old ice. But at the same time, I felt her body tremble slightly. She didn't pull away. Her blood-weeping eyes stared intensely into mine, as if trying to discern the truth behind my words. "Men are never good," she whispered, but the venom in her voice had significantly lessened. "Then watch me." I spoke softly. "Watch me, and see if I can be the exception." The surging resentment surrounding her receded like a tide. Her wildly whipping hair settled down, and she slowly floated back to the floor. She still looked horrifying, but in my eyes, she now appeared vulnerable and lost. I'm hungry," she said quietly, lowering her gaze. I smiled. I knew the crisis had passed. "Okay, I'll cook." I retracted my hand and headed for the kitchen. "What do you want tonight?" "Spicy Szechuan fish. Extra peppercorns." "You got it." After that night, the invisible barrier between us seemed to vanish. Although she still stayed in the bedroom, and I slept in the living room, she stopped communicating solely through the door crack. Sometimes, she would silently appear behind me while I cooked, watching me chop vegetables. At first, it scared the hell out of me, but I got used to it. She would even sit with me on the sofa to watch TV. While she never commented, I knew she was entertained when the shows featured some awful man getting beaten up. Our life increasingly resembled that of a bizarre cohabiting couple. I even started teaching her how to use my old smartphone. I gave her my retired iPhone and taught her how to browse, stream videos, and consume social media. She was a quick learner and soon became obsessed with short-form video apps and romance novels. I often woke up late at night and saw the faint glow of her phone screen emanating from a bedroom, followed by a contented sigh. When I asked what she was watching, she'd hide the phone and pretend nothing happened. This sweet, yet profoundly strange, routine made me feel like things could continue forever. Until the day I came home from work and found an unexpected visitor. A wizened, dignified old man in ritual robes, Brother Silas, stood in my living room, holding a blessed oak stake, pointing gravely toward the bedroom. Wicked spirit, show yourself now. Seeing Brother Silas, my mind screamed. My immediate reaction was to charge forward and shield the bedroom door. What the hell are you doing? I'll let you in, I shouted at the exorcist. The old man was taken aback by my reaction. He stroked his goatee and frowned. Young man, are you the tenant here? I'm here to help you. This apartment is filled with dark energy. A powerful, evil spirit resides here. She has clouded your mind, and you are defending her. I don't need your help. Get out. I stood with my arms spread wide, fiercely guarding the door like a mother bear protecting her cub. I could feel Ruby behind the door. Her energy was spiking wildly, and icy resentment was starting to leak out from the crack. Nonsense. Brother Silas's face darkened. Such a malevolent spirit cannot remain in the mortal realm. I must capture her today, lest she cause further harm. He flicked his wrist, and a yellow talisman shot toward me. My reflexes were fast enough to catch it, but a searing pain instantly scorched my palm like a branding iron. I yelped in pain, but refused to move. I said, she isn't hurting anyone. She's my roommate. Roommate, the old man scoffed. You are truly delusional. Life and death are separate realms. Why be roommates with a ghost? She will eventually drain your life force and lead you to a horrible death. That's none of your business, I shouted stubbornly. As we stood there, deadlocked, the bedroom door creaked open by itself. Ruby slowly stepped out. She didn't erupt in pure wrath like last time. She looked much as she did the first time I saw her through the crack. Red dress, long hair, but her face was stark white and her eyes were hollow. She looked calmly at the old man, her gaze filled not with fear, but with chilling stillness. Brother Silas, seeing Ruby manifest, immediately adopted a combat stance, pointing the blessed oak stake at her. Wicked spirit, you finally show yourself. You possess considerable power. I urge you to surrender and face judgment in the underworld, or be scattered to the winds. Ruby ignored him. Her gaze swept past the old man and landed on me, specifically on the hand that was scorched by the talisman. I saw the dried blood tears in her hollow eye sockets look dangerously close to flowing again. You're hurt, she spoke, her voice ethereal, but carrying a distinct thread of concern. It's nothing, just a scratch. I hid my hand behind my back. Step aside, she commanded me. I hesitated, but seeing the quiet resolve in her eyes, I instinctively moved one step to the side. Ruby took 2 steps forward, facing Brother Silas. You want to capture me? She asked. It is my duty to act on behalf of heaven, Brother Silas declared, looking righteous. Fine. Ruby suddenly smiled, a gruesome sight on her pale face. You could try. The moment she spoke, her red dress billowed, and a visible cloud of black resentment erupted from her, like a raging tsunami that instantly swept through the living room. The ceiling light fizzed and exploded, plunging the room into darkness. Tables and chairs were lifted by the malevolent force, flying wildly before smashing against the walls and shattering. Brother Silas was clearly unprepared for the sheer intensity of Ruby's power. His face went pale. He quickly bit his finger, smearing blood onto the oak stake, chanting rapidly. By the power of the heavens, I command thee, be broken. The oak stake flashed with a golden light, lunging toward Ruby. Ruby didn't dodge. She simply extended her pale hand and clamped down hard on the tip of the gleaming stake. Sizzle, golden light collided with black resentment, creating a deafening screech. Black smoke rose from Ruby's palm, clearly burning her. But she seemed oblivious to the pain, tightening her grip. Crack! The formidable blessed oak stake was snapped cleanly in half by her brute strength. Tui, Brother Silas was struck as if by a physical blow. He spat out a mouthful of blood, flying backward to smash against the wall, collapsing to the floor. You. Brother Silas pointed at Ruby, his face filled with disbelief. You are no ordinary evil spirit. You are nearly a vengeful archon. Ruby walked toward him, looking down with cold contempt. Now, do you still wish to capture me? Brother Silas was terrified, shaking uncontrollably, crawling backward in a desperate attempt to flee. No, don't kill me. I was hired. It was the landlord of this apartment who sent me. The landlord? That old fool again. A burst of rage ignited within me. That meddling old man. Ruby seemed to catch the word landlord, and her killing intent sharpened. She slowly raised her hand, sharp nails gleaming coldly, ready to strike for the old man's neck. Ruby, stop! I roared, charging forward and wrapping my arms around her from behind. Her body was stiff and ice-cold, like a human-shaped glacier. Don't kill him. I held her tightly, whispering in her ear, did you forget our agreement? We live peacefully, we don't harm people. Ruby's body stiffened abruptly. She slowly lowered her hand, and the malevolent energy surrounding her began to recede. The wind died down, and the objects that had been stuck to the ceiling clattered to the floor. Brother Silas seized the chance, scrambling out the door, abandoning even the broken half of his stake. Silence returned to the room, leaving only a trail of wreckage. I released Ruby, and she slowly turned to face me. Why didn't you let me kill him? She asked, confused. He came to capture me. He was meddling, but he didn't deserve death, I said, looking into her eyes earnestly. Ruby, I don't want you to become a vicious monster who harms innocents. Your enemy is that scumbag, the people who drove you to death, not him. She was silent. And also, I pulled up her hand, examining the burn on her palm where the golden light had hit, smoke still rising from the black wound. My heart ached. I don't want you to get hurt again. Her hand was freezing, but the wound was shockingly hot. I led her to the sink, turned on the cold water, and rinsed the injury. The water hitting her pale skin made a sizzling sound. She didn't speak, just watched me quietly. Her fingers clutching the edge of the sink tightened slightly, betraying her real pain. Injuries from spiritual artifacts are far more painful to a spirit than to a human. I was furious and distraught, angry at the landlord and the exorcist, and deeply worried about her injury. Next time someone like that shows up, you step aside. Leave it to me, I said firmly. I'll chase them off. She looked up at me with her hollow eyes. You can't defeat them. I'll fight anyway, I insisted. I won't stand by while you risk your life and get hurt. She didn't argue, only lowering her head to watch the water run over her hand. After tending to her injury, I began cleaning up the mess in the living room. Broken tables, splintered chairs, shattered glass everywhere. The apartment was already run down, and now it was a disaster area. Ruby stood nearby, watching me work. I'm sorry, she suddenly whispered. I paused, turning to her. Don't be ridiculous. It's not your fault. It is my fault, she insisted. I lost control and wrecked the house. Home. She used the word home. It pierced the softest spot in my heart. I put down the broom, walked up to her, and looked her in the eye. Ruby, this is our home. If things break, we could buy new ones or fix them. As long as the people in the home are safe, that's all that matters. I reached out, intending to touch her cheek again. This time, she didn't stiffen or tremble. She merely tilted her head, gently rubbing her pale, temperatureless face against my palm. The gesture was like a small cat seeking comfort. My heart melted completely. In that moment, I finally understood clearly. My feelings for her had long transcended pity or obligation. I loved her. I had fallen in love with a ghost. This realization, far from being absurd or terrifying, settled into my soul with a sense of profound certainty. From that day forward, our relationship subtly shifted. Although the boundary of life and death still existed, preventing us from sharing the physical intimacy of normal couples, our hearts had never been closer. I rushed home from work every day just to see her sooner. Even if she was just silently sitting in a corner of the sofa, watching TV, I felt an immeasurable peace. And she became increasingly clingy. When I worked late, she would use my old phone to text me strange emoji combinations, urging me to hurry home. When I cooked, she would float nearby, seriously giving advice. That dish needs more sugar. Fry the fish a little longer. When I took a shower, she'd wait outside the bathroom door, and if 20 minutes passed, she'd knock and ask in her soft, spooky voice, "Did you drown in there?" I laughed, yet cherished every moment. Life had become a strange urban romantic comedy. However, beneath the calm routine, dangerous currents were always moving. First, there was Old Man Miller. Since the Exorcist incident, he hadn't dared to show up, but he called me constantly. Alex, you have to move out. That ghost is too powerful. Even Brother Silas couldn't handle her. You'll die if you stay there. I'm not moving. I rejected him curtly every time. Why won't you listen to reason, son? I'm trying to save you. I'll refund you double rent, no triple. Just go. Grandpa, if you genuinely want to help me, stop hiring people to harass us. I hung up cold. I knew the old man was terrified. He feared Ruby's resentment would grow until she became a genuine Archon, which would implicate him and possibly destroy the entire property. Second, there was Diana Sterling. After my rejection, she kept her distance at work, but the scrutiny and quiet frustration in her eyes intensified. She was a smart woman. She noticed something was off about me. A normal man wouldn't reject a successful, beautiful woman like her, unless he was hiding someone more important. She started subtly probing my private life. Alex, what do you do on weekends? Are you always staying home alone? You never join us for dinner. Do you have some kind of commitment? That watch on your wrist. It looks vintage. Did a girlfriend give it to you? I dodged her questions vaguely, growing increasingly anxious. I feared she would dig too deep and discover the truth. The biggest threat, however, came from Ruby herself. I noticed her power was growing daily, but her emotional stability was deteriorating. Sometimes, seeing a cheating man on TV would send her into an instant rage, causing the lights in the room to flicker wildly. Other times, she'd stare out the window at the city traffic, sinking into a mysterious sadness, radiating a cold so intense it could freeze a man. I knew this was a side effect of her rapidly escalating resentment. She was getting closer to becoming a vengeful Archon. Once she crossed that threshold, she might lose all reason, transforming into a monster driven only by hatred and bloodlust. I couldn't let that happen. I started furiously searching the internet for information on ghosts, resentment, and exorcism, hoping to find a way to neutralize her pain. But online results were a chaotic mess of folk tales and unreliable theories. Then, by chance, on an extremely niche occult forum, I found a crucial clue. The post stated that lingering spirits remain because of an unresolved obsession. To dispel the resentment, the spirit must fulfill its final, living desire. There were generally two ways to resolve this: revenge or salvation. Revenge meant finding the person who killed them and exacting a blood price. Salvation meant finding the person or object most beloved by them in life, resolving the conflict, and allowing them to let go and move on peacefully. Seeing the word revenge, my first thought was that bastard artist who killed Ruby. What was the name the landlord mentioned? Julian Price. I immediately opened my search engine and typed in artist Julian Price. Quickly, a headline popped up. Emerging artist Julian Price's new exhibition opens this Saturday at the Metropolitan Gallery. His signature work, The Red Dress, will be displayed for the first time. The article included a photo of Julian Price. He was wearing a sharp suit, gold-rimmed glasses, and a charming, practiced smile, the picture of a successful man. Behind him, the poster for his signature work, The Red Dress, made my hands clench instantly, rage flooding my veins. The painting showed a girl in a red dress, her back to the viewer, standing by an old window, her black hair flowing down to her waist. I couldn't see her face, but I knew it was Ruby. That monster. He killed Ruby, and now he was using her image to paint, to gain fame and fortune. My decision was instantaneous. I had to take Ruby to see him. Not necessarily for immediate vengeance, but so she could see clearly what kind of monster the man she loved had become. I wanted her to be completely disillusioned, to cut this toxic attachment, and let go of her obsession. That evening, I told Ruby about the exhibition. I expected her to become hysterical, her resentment flaring. Surprisingly, she listened quietly, her hollow eyes showing no emotion, as if listening to a story about a stranger. "You want me to go?" she asked. "I want you to decide for yourself." I looked at her. "If you want to go, I'll go with you. If you don't, we'll forget he exists." She was silent for a long, long time, so long I thought she wouldn't answer. "I want to go," she finally said, her voice soft but carrying an unmistakable steel. "I want to see how well he's living now." Saturday arrived. The Metropolitan Gallery was packed, filled with expensive suits and designer dresses. Most people were there for the notoriety of Julian Price, the new sensation. I wore ordinary casual clothes, looking completely out of place in the crowd. Ruby walked beside me. Of course, no one else could see her. I could only feel her chilling spiritual energy, cloaking me like an invisible suit of armor. We navigated the crowds straight to the center of the exhibition hall. There, surrounded by countless flashing cameras and murmurs of admiration, was the painting titled The Red Dress. The girl in the painting was slender, the red dress fiery, standing before a dilapidated window overlooking a bleak city. The entire scene conveyed a sense of oppressive beauty and narrative depth. A man in a custom suit and tie stood before the painting, surrounded by reporters and fans, speaking eloquently. "Mr. Price, what was the inspiration for the red dress? Is the lady in the painting your muse?" A female reporter eagerly asked. Julian Price adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, flashing a charming, perfectly measured smile. "The inspiration came from a love that was profoundly etched in my life." His voice was deep and melancholic. "The girl in the painting was my former love. She was passionate and pure, just like that red dress, the brightest color in my life. Sadly, she was too fragile. She left me too soon due to an accident. This painting is my endless testament to her memory." As he spoke, he gazed lovingly at the canvas, his eyes glistening with what looked like genuine sorrow. The surrounding crowd sighed and murmured in admiration. "So touching. What a moving love story behind the art." Julian Price is truly a man of deep sentiment. I stood on the periphery, listening to the nauseating praise, my stomach churning. I glanced at Ruby next to me. She stood motionless, watching the man performing under the spotlights, watching the painting. Her face was blank, but I could feel the spiritual cold around her coalescing at an alarming speed. The entire gallery seemed to drop several degrees. People nearby shivered, looking up at the air-conditioning vents in confusion. "Liar!" Ruby squeezed the word out between clenched teeth. Her voice was faint, yet sharp as an ice-tempered blade, filled with biting hatred. Just then, a familiar figure pushed through the crowd and stood beside Julian Price. She intimately linked her arm through his, wearing a perfectly composed smile. It was Diana Sterling. My pupil shrank. What was she doing here? And why was she so close to Julian Price? "Ladies and gentlemen of the press, thank you for attending Julian's exhibition today." Diana lifted a glass, addressing the crowd with elegant poise. "I am Mr. Julian Price's fiancée, Diana Sterling, and I am also the curator of this exhibition." Fiancée? The word hit my mind like a bombshell. Diana Sterling was Julian Price's fiancée. I instinctively looked at Ruby. Her body was shaking violently. Her hollow eyes were locked on Julian and Diana, standing together so intimately. Black resentment, like corporeal poison snakes, churned and hissed around her. "So, that's how it is," she murmured, her voice a chilling, inhuman shriek. I see now." She laughed a sharp, insane sound. "Ha ha ha, a man of deep sentiment, profoundly etched love. Julian Price, you monster." As her hysterical laughter echoed, the gallery lights began to flicker violently, and the framed paintings on the walls rattled loudly, threatening to fall. The crowd gasped and started to panic. "What's happening? An earthquake? The lights. What's wrong with the lights?" Julian Price and Diana Sterling's faces changed. Julian looked around in bewildered fear, but Diana's gaze pierced through the frantic crowd, landing precisely on me. Her eyes held a complex mix of emotions that I couldn't decipher: surprise, scrutiny, and a touch of understanding. "Ruby, control yourself." I grabbed her icy wrist, trying to calm her, but she was utterly consumed by the flames of hatred and betrayal. "He lied to me. He killed me. And now he's stepping over my corpse to enjoy wealth and luxury with his new woman. How can I be calm?" she shrieked, violently tearing her hand free. A powerful force shoved me back. I stumbled a few steps, hitting the wall. Ruby transformed into a crimson streak, launching herself directly at Julian Price. "Julian Price, I've come for your soul." Only I could hear Ruby's shriek, but everyone present felt the bone-chilling cold that accompanied her attack. Julian Price was struck head-on by the invisible gale. He let out a yelp of pain, flying backward as if hit by a train, crashing hard onto the floor, where he immediately passed out. The glass on the red dress frame behind him shattered without warning, sending shards flying. This bizarre spectacle sent the gallery into complete chaos. "A ghost! It's a ghost!" someone screamed. The crowd scattered like disturbed ants, pushing, shoving, desperately rushing toward the exits. The scene was pandemonium. Diana Sterling was one of the few who maintained her composure. She didn't run. She rushed to the unconscious Julian, checking his vitals. Then, she looked up, her gaze laser-focused on where I stood. I knew she must have guessed everything. Ruby, meanwhile, hovered above Julian, looking down on him. Black resentment swirled around her, and her hollow eye shone with undisguised, killing intent. "I'm going to kill him. I'll tear his soul apart," she shrieked. One hand sharpened into a claw, aimed directly at Julian's heart. "No!" I lunged forward, yelling, trying to stop her. But I was too late. In that fraction of a second, a golden light suddenly ignited around Diana Sterling. She ripped a jade pendant from her neck and crushed it in her hand. The moment it shattered, a golden energy shield materialized out of thin air, enveloping both her and Julian Price. Ruby's deadly claw struck the shield with a searing zap, but it couldn't penetrate, stopping inches from its target. "What is that?" Ruby recoiled, her resentment churning, clearly infuriated by the sudden obstruction. I stared at the shield, my heart pounding. That pendant, it was some kind of magical artifact. Who was Diana Sterling, really? Diana slowly stood up, looking through the golden barrier at the hovering Ruby. Her eyes held no fear, only cold scrutiny and a hint of hostility. "Whatever you are, stay away from him," Diana warned coldly. "Is my murderer. How is his death any concern of yours?" Ruby snarled. "He's now my fiancé." Diana stood her ground. "If you want to touch him, you have to go through me." Two women, one living, one dead, faced off across a light barrier for the sake of the same man. One consumed by rage, the other emanating fierce power. The tension was palpable. Caught in the middle, my head was spinning. "Ruby, let's go." I tugged at Ruby's sleeve. This situation was too strange. Diana's identity was a mystery, and pressing the fight now was dangerous. Ruby was reluctant, but she understood the golden shield was formidable. She shot a malevolent glance at Diana and the prone Julian. With a flash of red light, she dove into the old wristwatch on my wrist. This was a new feature we'd recently discovered. The watch seemed to have a unique bond with her, allowing her to temporarily shelter inside. The instant Ruby vanished, the suffocating chill in the gallery dispersed. I couldn't stay. I quickly melted into the panicking crowd and ran out of the museum. I sprinted for 2 blocks before stopping, breathless. "Come out." I spoke to my watch. With a red flash, Ruby reappeared before me. She looked worse than before, her ghostly form flickering, unstable. Clearly, the clash with the golden shield had drained her significantly. "Are you okay?" I asked anxiously. She shook her head, but her eyes were fixed on the direction of the gallery, filled with raw hatred and refusal to submit. "Who was that woman? Why did she have that artifact?" she demanded. I shook my head, equally bewildered. Diana Sterling, my beautiful boss, a seemingly normal corporate powerhouse, was Julian Price's fiancée and carried a powerful protective artifact. It was all beyond comprehension. Had she approached me intentionally? Or was this all a horrific coincidence? No matter who she is, she protected that monster. Ruby ground out, teeth clenched. "They're working together. I'll kill her too. Calm down." I held her shoulders. "We don't know what's going on. Diana. She's my boss, and she was pursuing me. I still think there's more to this." "Pursuing you?" Ruby paused and sneered. "See? Another one. She approached you with bad intentions. Maybe she meant to use you to fight me." I couldn't argue. Given Diana's power and secrecy, if she had an agenda, I was completely outmatched. "Let's go home and figure this out." I sighed, leading her back toward the apartment. Back in our broken but reassuring little home, Ruby and I sank into silence. Today's events had delivered too much information. Julian Price's deceit, Diana's mystery, and Ruby's increasingly unstable power. It was a tangled mess. "I have to kill him." Ruby finally broke the silence, her tone absolute. "Even if my soul is scattered, I'll drag him to hell with me." Seeing the deadly resolve in her eyes, I knew I couldn't talk her out of it. Instead of letting her risk everything alone, I had to help her. "Okay." I took a deep breath, making a crazy decision. "I'll help you. We'll find a way together, bypassing that woman, so you can have your revenge." Ruby stared at me, astonished. "You?" I said I'd help you. I interrupted, clasping her cold hand. "Whatever you need to do, I'll be there." She looked at me, and from her hollow eyes, the long-dried blood tears flowed once more. This time, they were not the crimson of resentment, but transparent, like human tears. The clear drops fell on my hand, icy cold. Just as my heart swelled with sympathy for her pain, my phone rang. It was Diana Sterling. Looking at her name on the screen, I felt like I was holding a live grenade. Ruby, sensing the caller, instantly thickened her spiritual cold. "Don't answer," she hissed. I hesitated, then tapped the speaker button. "Hello. Alex, where are you?" Diana's voice came through, calm and unshaken, as if the gallery chaos had been an everyday occurrence. "What is it, Diana?" I used a formal, distant tone. A few seconds of silence. The mess at the gallery, that was your doing, wasn't it? She asked directly. I don't know what you're talking about. I flat out denied it. Alex, stop playing games. Diana's voice hardened slightly. Are you keeping a woman in a red dress around you? My heart plummeted. She knew everything. Ruby's energy surged beside me, ready to explode. I quickly shot her a glance, urging her to hold steady. Where are you? Let's meet and talk. Diana said. I don't think we have anything to discuss. Oh, really? Diana sneered. If you don't want her soul to be scattered, you'd better meet me. I'll be at the coffee shop across from the office in 1 hour. I'm waiting. She hung up, efficiently and decisively. I gripped the phone, my palms slick with cold sweat. She threatened me. Ruby's voice was sharp. What does she want? Is she trying to capture me? Don't panic. I reassured her. If she truly wanted to capture you, she wouldn't have used a defensive artifact at the gallery. She wants to meet me, which means she has another motive. I'll go and find out what she's up to. No, it's too dangerous. Ruby instantly protested. She knows I exist. She must be prepared. What if she targets you when you're alone? Don't worry. In broad daylight, she won't dare hurt me. Besides, you'll be with me in the watch, right? I showed her the watch on my wrist. If anything goes wrong, you'll know immediately. Ruby was still worried, but it seemed like the only way forward. We had to understand Diana's background and true intentions. An hour later, I was at the coffee shop. Diana was already seated by the window. She had changed out of her glamorous attire and was back in her professional suit, looking like the sharp executive I knew. He said, opposites here. Talk. What do you want? I cut straight to the chase. Diana took a sip of her coffee, maintaining an elegant posture, but her eyes bored into me like X-rays. Alex Vance, I underestimated you. I always thought you were just a simple, hardworking young man. I never expected you were starring in a bizarre ghost love story. Her tone was openly mocking. That's none of your business. I retorted coldly. It wasn't, until she tried to kill my fiancé today. Now it is, Diana said. Your fiancé? I scoffed. Diana, you're an outstanding woman. Why would you be with a hypocritical monster like Julian Price, a man who uses a woman's corpse for his own fame? Aren't you afraid of karma? At the mention of Julian, a flicker of complex emotion crossed Diana's eyes, quickly hidden. My relationship with Julian is not for you to judge. She paused, changing tack. I called you here today not to argue. I'm here to give you a choice. What choice? Leave the ghost. Diana's eyes were razor sharp. I can give you enough money to buy a house and a car in any city you choose, ensuring you live comfortably for the rest of your life. Take the money, leave this city, and never return. Sever all ties with her. I reacted as if I'd heard the funniest joke. Are you trying to bribe me, Diana? Do you think my connection with Ruby can be measured by money? Connection? Diana scoffed, as if hearing an even greater absurdity. Alex, wake up. She's a ghost. A powerful spirit filled with hatred, capable of turning into a demon at any moment. You have no future with her. You will only end up drained of your life force and dead. Her emotional state is becoming increasingly unstable, and her resentment is growing stronger. You know this better than anyone. Do you think you're loving her? Helping her? No, you are destroying her. Your life force is like a catalyst, accelerating her demonic transformation. When she completely loses her mind, the first person she will kill is you. Diana's words were like daggers plunged into my heart. Because I knew they were true, I sensed the changes in Ruby and the growing fatigue in my own body, likely the result of my energy being slowly siphoned. But I didn't care. So what? I met her gaze. I accept that. For the first time, an expression of disbelief crossed Diana's face. She hadn't expected that answer. You're insane. I'm not insane, I said calmly. I love her. Whether she is human or ghost, I love her. I won't leave her. Diana stared, speechless. I stood up, preparing to leave. Diana, I don't care who you are or your relationship with Julian Price. But let me be perfectly clear. Ruby will have Julian's life. No one can stop it. You think the two of you can touch him? Diana suddenly laughed coldly. Alex, you're naive. You have no idea what you're dealing with. What does that mean? I paused. Julian Price is not an ordinary man. Diana's eyes turned distant and dark. He has forces backing him that you cannot possibly comprehend. That protective artifact I used today, he gave it to me. It can stop a full power attack from a vengeful Archon. Do you think someone who has access to such things is simple? My heart sank again. I came here today, offering you money, not to bribe you, but to save you, Diana said, lowering her voice. You still have a chance to back out. If you insist on getting involved in this mess, you will end up scattered to the winds alongside that female ghost. She pulled a bank card from her purse and slid it across the table toward me. There's $5 million on this card. The pin is 6 zeros. This is your last chance. I looked at the card, then back at her. I saw genuine concern in her eyes. Was she worried about me? This notion only deepened my confusion. If she was Julian's fiancée, why would she help me? Why? I asked, voicing my confusion. Why are you trying to help me? Diana's eyes flickered, avoiding my gaze. I just don't want the company to lose a valuable talent, she offered a weak excuse. I smiled. I picked up the bank card and, right in front of her, snapped it in half. Crack. I appreciate the sentiment. I tossed the broken pieces onto the table. But I told you I won't leave her. As for Julian Price, he owes Ruby, and he must pay. I turned and walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. I didn't see the look on Diana's face as she stared at the broken card on the table. It was an expression of extreme complexity, fury, resignation, and a hint of unreadable pain. Outside, the sunlight stung my eyes. Ruby floated out of the watch, her face shadowed and tight with anger. 5 million? She's certainly generous. She sneered, a hint of jealousy in her tone. Are you jealous? I teased her deliberately. I'm jealous of your ghost head. She glared at me, though the chill surrounding her lessened. I just think that woman is incredibly strange. She claims to be Julian's fiancée, but then she offers you cash to run away. What is her game? I can't figure out either. I rub my temple. But one thing is certain. Julian Price is not a simple target. Diana said the protective artifact he gave her could withstand a full power attack from an Archon. Ruby's expression became grave. Anyone who possesses something like that is far from ordinary. Does he have a powerful mentor or handler? Most likely, I nodded. It seems killing him directly won't be easy. We walked and debated, feeling the situation grow increasingly complicated. Julian Price was a fortress surrounded by protection, and Diana was the most formidable outer wall. No, I won't let this go. Ruby suddenly stopped, her voice venomous. I have to find a way to rip off that sanctimonious mask of his. Don't rush. I held her arm. A direct confrontation won't work. We need another approach. What approach? I looked at the constant stream of people and traffic, and an idea flashed in my mind. If we can't use ghost methods, we'll use human methods. Human methods? Ruby was confused. Yes. A cold smile touched my lips. He likes to play the role of the tragic, sentimental artist, doesn't he? He likes using your story to gain fame. We'll expose the truth to the public. I will ruin his reputation. Take everything he has. That punishment will make him suffer far more than simply killing him. Ruby's eyes brightened. For a man like Julian, who cherished his image and fame above all else, destroying his social standing was indeed a crueler revenge than physical death. How do we do it? She asked immediately. Proof, I said. We need evidence. Evidence that he was a gambler, that he was abusive, that he sold you to pay debts, and that he drove you to suicide. With solid proof, I can make this go viral across the entire internet. I had worked as a copywriter. I knew the terrifying power of public opinion. The same engine that raised him up could smash him to pieces. Evidence. Ruby sank into thought. Too much time has passed. Everything is gone. The gambling dens won't keep records. The bruises are long healed. There are always traces, I encouraged her. Think hard. Is there anything or anyone who can confirm all this? Ruby closed her eyes, trying to recall the painful memories. After a long moment, she suddenly opened her eyes. There is one person, she said. Mrs. Peterson. She lived downstairs from us and was very close to me. Whenever that man beat me, I'd sneak down to her apartment to hide. She saw my bruises. And one time, the loan sharks came looking for him, and she saw the whole thing. Mrs. Peterson. My spirits lifted. Does she still live there? I don't know. I haven't seen her since I died. Ruby's voice was tinged with sadness. No matter. We'll go look. We can't give up while there's still hope. We acted immediately. I drove Ruby to the old, dilapidated housing complex where she had lived. It was even more run-down than my own place. We found her old building, and sure enough, there was a small convenience store on the ground floor where an old woman with white hair was dozing by the door. Mrs. Peterson. Ruby's voice trembled slightly. The old woman seemed to hear something, blinking sleepily and looking around, confused. Who called me? I quickly approached her, offering a friendly smile. Ma'am, are you Mrs. Peterson? I'm looking for someone. Yes, I am. What can I do for you, young man? Mrs. Peterson scrutinized me. It's about someone who used to live upstairs. Her name was Ruby Lynn. Do you remember her? Hearing the name Ruby Lynn, Mrs. Peterson's face changed instantly. She looked at me suspiciously. Who are you? Why are you asking about her? Seeing her reaction, I knew I'd found the right person. Please don't misunderstand, ma'am. I'm Ruby's friend. I gestured to the empty air beside me. She's here too. Mrs. Peterson's cloudy eyes flashed with a mix of terror and sorrow. She looked at the space next to me, her lips trembling. Ruby, is that really you? It's me, Mrs. Peterson. Ruby's voice was choked. I'm sorry it took me so long to come back. Though Mrs. Peterson couldn't see or hear clearly, she seemed to sense Ruby's presence. Her eyes reddened, and old tears began to flow. My poor child, you suffered so much. My sweet Ruby Lynn. I explained our purpose, asking if she would be willing to testify and expose Julian Price's true nature. Mrs. Peterson listened, shaking with anger. That damn monster. He has the nerve to hold an art exhibit. He ruined Ruby's life so horribly. How dare he? Mrs. Peterson slammed the table excitedly. I'll testify. I saw her covered in cuts and bruises. I heard those debt collectors threatening her. I'll tell everyone. I want the world to know what kind of scum he is. With Mrs. Peterson as our key witness, our plan was half successful. The next step was figuring out how to disseminate this information most effectively. I immediately thought of a solution, a viral expose published on the largest social media platform. I rushed home and spent the night at my computer, writing out Ruby's entire story, including Mrs. Peterson's detailed testimony. I used all my copywriter skills, employing sharp language and raw emotion. Every word felt like it was written in blood and tears. The title I chose was highly provocative. My corpse became the stepping stone to his artistic glory. After writing the piece, I did one more thing. I hacked into my old ad agency's internal system and found the contact list for all the media outlets collaborating on Julian Price's exhibition. The moment the article was published, I anonymously mass emailed the expose to every single reporter. Finished, I looked out at the dark night, letting out a long sigh. Ruby, the war has begun. The speed and ferocity of internet transmission exceeded my imagination. The article, My Corpse Became the Stepping Stone to His Artistic Glory, was dropped like a depth charge in the early morning. After a brief period of fermentation, it completely exploded across the web by the next day. Hashtag Artist Julian Price Persona Collapse, hashtag Red Dress Bloody Truth, hashtag Painter-Driven Girlfriend to Suicide Over Gambling Debt. A series of shocking hashtags quickly dominated the trending topics on every social media platform. In the article, I, writing as an insider, narrated in detail how Julian Price descended from a talented but poor artist into a gambler, how he domestically abused Ruby Lynn, and finally, how he monstrously sold her to loan sharks, ultimately driving her to suicide. The narrative was packed with specific details. The underground gambling den Julian favored, Mrs. Peterson's corner store where Ruby hid, the specific threats used by the debt collectors. These details made the story ring undeniably true. And Mrs. Peterson's video testimony, given under her real name, was the final nail in the coffin. In the video, the white-haired old woman tearfully recounted Julian's crimes, showing fragments of Ruby's bloodied clothes she had secretly kept. The public outrage was absolute. Netizens who had praised Julian Price's deep sentiment the day before instantly turned on him. The comments section was flooded with vitriol. Holy hell, an ultimate plot twist. I was touched yesterday, and today I'm eating trash. That's sick. Eating human flesh steamed on his girlfriend's corpse. This guy doesn't deserve to be called an artist. The red dress should be called the bloody garment. Authorities need to investigate. This scumbag must pay. Julian Price's social media accounts were instantly overwhelmed by angry users. His previous posts about his peaceful life and heartfelt artistry were drowned out by unspeakable insults and demands for answers. Ruby and I sat watching the unfolding chaos on the computer, our feelings complex. He deserves it, Ruby said, watching the vicious comments. A spark of satisfaction glimmered in her hollow eyes. I nodded, but a subtle unease gnawed at me. The whole operation was going too smoothly. Too abnormally smoothly. With Diana Sterling's influence and the forces backing Julian, they couldn't possibly be ignoring such a massive public crisis. Why hadn't they engaged in any damage control yet? Are they planning something behind the scenes? I voiced my worries. Whatever they plan, the truth is out now. How can they turn black into white? Ruby scoffed. The moment she finished speaking, my phone rang. It was the HR department from the ad agency, informing me that I was terminated. The reason? Gross violation of company policy and leaking client confidential information. I had anticipated this and accepted the outcome calmly. Hanging up, I looked at Ruby. Looks like they're starting to fight back. Sure enough, the tide of online opinion began to shift slightly that afternoon. First, Julian Price's studio issued a strongly worded statement, flatly denying all accusations, labeling them malicious defamation and slander, and announcing they had contacted law enforcement to pursue legal action against the perpetrators. Next, various paid influencers jumped in to shape the narrative. Some claimed this was a smear campaign by a competitor trying to ruin Julian, the art world's rising star. Others attacked Mrs. Peterson, claiming she was a confused elderly woman being manipulated, and her video testimony was unreliable. Worse, they started digging in my background. Although I posted anonymously, through some channel, they figured out I was Diana Sterling's former employee. They immediately spun me into a villain, a scorned lover who was rejected by Diana and sought malicious revenge on her fiancé. See, I told you that woman had evil intentions. Ruby raged, her resentment churning as she saw the comments. I remained outwardly calm. This was standard crisis PR, deflection and character assassination. But what truly chilled me was Diana's action. She personally agreed to an exclusive interview with a major media outlet. In the interview video, Diana was impeccably dressed, smiling, and composed. I initially preferred not to address these online rumors, but they are now impacting Julian's and my personal life, so I must speak up. Firstly, I stake my reputation that Julian is absolutely not the man described online. He is kind, talented, and devoted to our relationship. In all the years we have been together, he has been nothing but considerate. As for the supposed ex-girlfriend, Ruby Lynn, to my knowledge, she suffered from long-term mental instability, severe depression, and delusional episodes. While she and Julian did date, the breakup was entirely due to her paranoia and extreme emotional behavior. Her suicide was a tragedy, and we mourn her loss deeply. But placing all the blame on Julian is terribly unfair to him. And as for the author of that article, Alex Vance, he is a former employee of my firm. He pursued me, and I explicitly rejected him. I can't explain why he would concoct such lies to attack my fiancée, but I trust that the truth will prevail and the legal system will bring us justice. Diana's statement was coherent, flawless, and utterly devastating. She utilized her status and influence to easily frame Ruby as a crazy woman and me as a petty schemer, thereby washing Julian clean as an innocent victim. Her statement instantly swayed a segment of public opinion. Many fence-sitting users began to doubt the exposé. Diana Sterling herself is clarifying, it must be true. If the ex-girlfriend had depression, extreme behavior isn't outside the realm of possibility. Alex Vance, rejected and seeking revenge? That plot is too melodramatic. Watching the woman twist the truth on the screen, Ruby trembled violently, close to manifesting completely. She's lying. How dare she? How dare she slander me like that? Ruby shrieked hysterically. The glass in the room rattled under the strain. I grabbed her, holding her tightly in my arms, restraining her. Calm down, Ruby. Calm down. How can I be calm? She painted me as a lunatic. She made everyone believe I was crazy. Ruby thrashed against me. I know it's all lies. I held her tighter, shouting near her ear. But what good is your anger now? It will only fuel your resentment, making you lose control faster. This might be exactly what they want. My words were like a splash of cold water. She immediately stopped struggling, but continued to shake in my arms, letting out stifled sobs. I gently stroked her back, my mind ice cold. Diana, you ruthless woman. You didn't just want to clear Julian's name. You wanted to shatter Ruby's spirit. You wanted to destroy the last shred of dignity and clarity she had left in this world. Watching Ruby shiver in my arms, a far more insane and dangerous plan began to take shape in my mind. If we couldn't win the PR war, we would have to resort to brute force. Ruby, I held her face, looking into her blood-weeping eyes. Don't be afraid. I have one last plan. One that will ensure he never recovers. What plan? Ruby asked, her voice strained. We draw him out, I said, a cold glint in my eye. Since they claim you're mentally unstable, we'll play the role of the Mad Avenger, and we'll make sure everyone sees it. Ruby looked confused. I leaned close and whispered my plan in detail. When I finished, her hollow eyes showed shock and hesitation for the first time. That's too risky, too dangerous for you. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I squeezed her hand. This is our last chance. Do you trust me? She looked at my determined gaze, paused, then nodded heavily. My plan was simple and maniacal. I would pretend to be a vengeful soul, possessed by Ruby's ghost, driven to madness. I would cause a scene, disrupting every public appearance Julian Price made. Exhibitions, book signings, even Diana's company offices. I needed everyone to witness my madness and my hatred for Julian. I would escalate the situation beyond control, forcing Julian and Diana to personally confront me, the problem. Once they showed up, they would walk right into our trap. The first step of the plan, Julian Price's upcoming art book signing event. On the day of the signing, I dressed in ragged clothes, hadn't shaved in days, and messed up my hair. I looked disheveled and frantic, perfectly fitting the image of a love-crazed lunatic. Ruby was nestled in my wristwatch, providing technical support. The signing was crowded. Julian Price sat behind a table, wearing an expensive suit, smiling as he signed books for fans. Diana Sterling sat beside him, in a crisp white business suit, embodying elegant composure. They looked like the perfect golden couple, seemingly unaffected by the recent scandals. I took a deep breath, pushed through the crowd, and charged straight for the table. Julian Price, you murderer, give me back Ruby's life. I screamed, my voice filled with grief and madness. The room instantly erupted in noise. All eyes snapped to me. Julian and Diana's expressions both changed instantly. Security guards reacted, rushing toward me. Ruby, I thought. A sudden gust of cold air materialized. The rushing guards inexplicably slipped on the floor, tumbling over each other, unable to reach me. I reached the table and flipped it over. Art books, pens, and water glasses scattered everywhere. You killed Ruby. How dare you sit here, playing the victim? I pointed at Julian's face, shrieking like a maniac. She's back. She's here for your soul. She's right here. Can't you see? She's right next to me. I yelled, punching and kicking the air, pretending to fight an invisible enemy. Ruby cooperated perfectly, generating subtle paranormal phenomena. The lights in the signing venue flickered violently on and off. The background music stuttered, and a few art books actually flew off the shelves by themselves. The fans screamed in terror, retreating, pulling out their phones to record me frantically. Oh my God, is he crazy? This is terrifying. He said there's a ghost. Look, the lights. They're flashing. Julian Price was deathly pale, hiding behind Diana. Diana, though clearly shocked, quickly regained her composure. She watched me, her gaze cold and sharp, trying to pierce through my performance. Alex Vance, have you caused enough trouble yet? She roared. Security, get him out of here. More guards rushed forward. I knew Ruby couldn't expose her power too much in front of so many people. I struggled briefly, then, overwhelmed by the guards, I was dragged away. As I was dragged out, I didn't stop my act. Julian Price, you wait. Ruby won't forgive you, and neither will I. Ha 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 ha. I laughed maniacally, the sound echoing through the venue. I knew that starting today, the news that Alex Vance went crazy would spread across the internet via these videos. Step one of my plan was a success. Over the next few days, I continued the strategy. I staked out Julian's luxury apartment building, writing "Murderer Pays" in red paint on his car. I staged a sit-in outside Diana's office building, holding a sign that read "Justice for Ruby," telling everyone Julian's crimes. I became a complete menace, a madman everyone avoided. Videos and discussions about me were everywhere online. Some people cursed me, some pitied me, but most treated the whole thing as bizarre entertainment. Julian Price and Diana Sterling were relentlessly harassed. Julian stopped attending any public events. I knew they were close to their breaking point. Sure enough, a week later, Diana called me. Her voice was laced with suppressed fury. Alex, what exactly do you want? What do I want? I sneered into the phone. I want Julian Price to go to Ruby's grave, kneel down, and confess his crime. Impossible. Then there's nothing to discuss. I hung up. I knew she'd call back. Half an hour later, the phone rang again. This time, Diana's tone softened. All right, I agree. But you must guarantee this is the last time. After this, you are forbidden from ever harassing us again. Agreed, I answered promptly. Time and place. Tomorrow noon, Blackwood Memorial Park, at Ruby's gravesite. Only you and Julian Price. If I see a third person or any tricks. I paused, my voice chilling. The consequences are on you. Hanging up, I looked at Ruby beside me. Her body was shaking, not from fear but from intense excitement. Tomorrow, he dies, she whispered, word by word. I nodded, my expression grave. Tomorrow, at Blackwood Memorial Park, we would face much more than a simple apology. It would be a genuine fight to the death. Blackwood Memorial Park was draped in mist and cold drizzle. I stood by Ruby's grave, holding a black umbrella. The rainwater hit the headstone, splashing tiny drops. The whole cemetery was cloaked in a chilling, sorrowful atmosphere. The photo on the headstone was an artistic portrait taken when she was alive, a radiant, bright smile that seemed utterly out of place in the damp cold. Ruby floated beside the headstone, quietly looking at the picture, the cold radiating from her body even colder than the rain. Precisely at noon, a black sedan pulled up near the entrance. The doors opened, and Diana and Julian Price stepped out. Diana was still in her business suit, holding a black umbrella, her expression grim. Julian, however, looked miserable. He wore a wrinkled trench coat, his face pale, his eyes darting nervously, the polished artist facade completely gone. They walked toward us. I noticed Diana was carrying a heavy-looking black case. "We're here." Diana stopped several yards away, saying coldly. As agreed, he will confess his crime. She pushed Julian forward. He stumbled, reluctantly walking up to Ruby's headstone. He looked at Ruby's photo, his eyes complex. Fear, guilt, and a subtle flicker of deep-seated malice. "Kneel," I commanded fiercely. Julian flinched, looking pleadingly at Diana. She watched him, expressionless. Julian gritted his teeth, finally dropping to his knees in the muddy grass. "Ruby, I'm sorry." His voice was barely a whisper. "I shouldn't have gambled, shouldn't have hit you, and certainly shouldn't have sold you. Please forgive me." His apology was hollow, clearly just a performance. Ruby watched the man who once held her love, now kneeling at her grave. Her face was blank, but the black energy surrounding her was burning like corporeal flames. "Forgive you." She let out a piercing, hysterical laugh that echoed through the empty cemetery, raising goosebumps. "Did you think about forgiving me when you killed me? Did you think about forgiving me when you were stepping on my corpse, enjoying wealth and fame? Now, one empty apology, and you expect me to forgive you? Julian Price, you wish." The moment she finished speaking, a furious gale erupted. Countless paper offerings were lifted into the air, spinning wildly, forming a massive vortex. Ruby's figure flickered within the whirlwind, her black hair flying, her red dress like blood. Her hollow eyes were filled with earth-shattering hatred. She had become an archon. Seeing her tormentor kneeling at her grave, all the hatred, injustice, and fury finally overwhelmed the last vestiges of her sanity. "Today you die," Ruby shrieked, transforming into a streak of crimson light, hurtling toward the prone Julian Price. That's when Diana moved. With surprising speed, utterly unlike her polished demeanor, she flipped open the black case she was carrying. The case didn't contain the artifacts or talismans I expected, but rows of gleaming, metallic-looking sonic devices. She quickly set several megaphone-like devices on the ground, pointing them at Ruby, and pressed a remote control in her hand. WCHRRR, a bone-jarring, high-frequency sonic wave instantly erupted from the devices. This wasn't ordinary sound. It was a weapon specialized to target and disrupt spiritual entities. Ruby, consumed by the crimson light, emitted a scream of pure agony, as if being shredded by invisible blades. Her entire spectral body began to violently twist and dissipate. "Ruby!" My eyes bulged. I tried to rush forward, but the powerful sonic waves were so disorienting I could barely stand. "Alex, I gave you a choice." Diana stood behind the devices, looking at me coldly. "You chose death." She increased the power. The sonic attack intensified. Ruby's body became increasingly transparent, on the verge of being scattered forever. "No." I let out a bestial roar, summoning every ounce of strength I had, and lunged headfirst at one of the speakers. Crash! The speaker was knocked over, creating a gap in the sonic barrier. Ruby seized the moment, fighting through the intense pain to recoalesce her spirit. Her eyes, filled with burning hatred, locked onto Julian Price, who was paralyzed by terror on the ground. "I'll kill you." She abandoned all defense, converting her remaining power into one fatal strike, like a scarlet arrow shot toward Julian Price's heart. "Julian, watch out!" Diana's face paled. She was too late to intervene. Julian Price was seconds away from instant death. Suddenly, an unimaginable twist. Julian Price, who had been trembling on the ground, raised his head. A sinister black light flashed in his eyes. The fear was gone, replaced by a chilling, cruel smile. He extended his hand and effortlessly caught Ruby's lethal, resentment-fueled attack. Finally coming out to play, Julian, or rather, the creature occupying his body, smiled evilly, licking his lips. "I waited a long time for you, my sacrifice." He held Ruby's imprisoned soul in his grasp like a captured chick. The moment he spoke, a black, powerful mist, hundreds of times more potent and evil than Ruby's resentment, erupted from him. This wasn't resentment. It was a purer, older form of demonic energy. He wasn't human at all. He was a demon, disguised in human skin. This instant reversal stunned everyone, Diana and me included. Who could have imagined that the scumbag artist we thought was relying on women and influence was actually a formidable, hidden demon? You, what are you? Diana looked at Julian, who was wreathed in demonic energy. For the first time, her face registered genuine horror. Me? The creature, residing within Julian Price's body, smiled maliciously, licking his lips. I'm a master who granted him talent, money, and status. And he, in turn, provides me with a steady stream of sacrifices. He shook Ruby's confined soul in his hand. Ruby struggled frantically, but the pure, demonic energy suppressed her resentment, leaving her helpless. Just like her, the demon inhaled Ruby's palpable resentment greedily, showing an expression of pure pleasure. What delicious hatred! Hatred born of love, despair born of hope. This soul is the finest nourishment. I cultivated her for this moment, waiting for her to turn Archon. I finally understood. Everything clicked. Julian Price's talent, his success, it wasn't his own. He had made a pact with the devil, and the deal was to supply this demon with victims. He intentionally seduced pure, passionate girls, using love and charm as bait, then tormented and destroyed them in the most brutal ways, ensuring they died in infinite pain and hatred, transforming into powerful spirits. The perfect nourishment for the demon. Ruby was just one of many victims. Bastard. My vision went red. I grabbed a rock from the ground and charged at Julian Price. Insolent worm. The demon didn't even glance at me, merely waving his hand dismissively. A powerful burst of demonic energy struck my chest. I flew backward like a snapped kite, hitting the ground hard. A sickly sweetness rose in my throat, and I spat out a gush of blood. Alex! Ruby, still imprisoned, screamed hysterically. Don't worry. Your turn will come soon enough. The demon looked at me, grinning evilly. Your soul is also filled with love and protective desire for her. Not as tasty as hatred, perhaps, but a decent dessert. He opened his mouth, apparently preparing to devour Ruby's soul entirely. Stop! Diana suddenly roared. She pulled a silver, oddly shaped pistol from her coat and aimed it at Julian Price. Obsidian? You're one of the Sentinels. The demon saw the pistol, and for the first time, showed a look of grave concern. The Sentinels? I was confused. What organization was that? Release her and surrender, or I will execute you right here. Diana's voice was ice cold, her gaze resolute. You? The demon scoffed. You're just a junior agent who recently joined. Do you think that silver boar can defeat me? Once I devour this spirit, my power will ascend. I could trample your Sentinel's headquarters. Try me. Diana abandoned all negotiation, pulling the trigger. There was no gunshot, no muzzle flash. A blinding white light erupted from the pistol, shooting toward the demon with lightning speed. The demon's face twisted in panic. He quickly shoved Ruby's soul in front of him as a shield. No. Both Diana's and my hearts leaped into our throats. The white light was purified energy, meant to cleanse evil forces. If it hit Ruby, her soul would be scattered instantly, without even a chance for reincarnation. In that critical moment, the old watch on my wrist suddenly erupted in a soft, yet powerful golden light. The golden light formed a shield, completely protecting Ruby's soul. The white blast struck the golden shield, and both energies annihilated each other. What is that? The demon stared at the watch on my wrist, his eyes filled with greed and shock. A relic of the ages? Diana was also stunned, staring at me, then the watch. I was just as bewildered. This watch, which Ruby had given me, had such power? What exactly was it? Taking advantage of the demon's momentary distraction, Ruby suddenly unleashed a surge of power. She seemed to draw strength from the golden light. Her resentment flared, and she broke free from the demonic grasp. Julian Price, I want your life, she shrieked, no longer attacking Julian's body, but transforming into a red light that rushed straight toward his brow, targeting the demon's core essence within. Suicidal fool. The demon roared in fury, realizing the attack's intent. Black light erupted from his brow, trying to shatter Ruby's spirit. Now, Diana yelled, raising her silver bore pistol again. This time, she aimed directly at Julian's forehead as well. A flash of white light, more brilliant than before, struck the demon's brow simultaneously with Ruby's crimson essence. Airf! The demon let out a shriek that was not human. His body convulsed violently, black veins bulging on his face, dark blood leaking from his orifices. Julian Price's human body could not withstand the combined forces. It began to crack open, black demonic energy seeping out of the fissures. No, I won't lose. I won't. The demon howled in desperation, but his physical form was collapsing. Finally, under the dual onslaught of the red and white light, Julian Price's body exploded. Countless fragments of black, demonic essence scattered, and the instant they hit the sunlight, they let out piercing cries before dissolving into black smoke and vanishing. Ruby, struck by the massive force of the explosion, was flung backward, crashing hard onto the ground. Her soul was more transparent than ever before, looking like it could be blown away by a mere gust of wind. Ruby! I struggled up from the ground, crawling desperately to her. I tried to hold her, but my hand passed right through her translucent form. Alex! She looked at me weakly, a look of profound relief on her face. I got my revenge. Don't talk. You'll be fine. You have to be fine. I stammered, tears streaming down my face. She smiled, shaking her head. Her spirit grew fainter, dissolving into thousands of tiny golden motes of light, starting to drift upwards. Alex, thank you. You showed me that there really are good men in the world. It was good meeting you. Her voice grew softer, and her body transformed entirely into shimmering golden particles floating toward the sky. No, don't go. Ruby, don't leave me. I knelt on the ground, fruitlessly reaching out to grasp the light, but it slipped through my fingers. The golden motes gathered in the air, briefly forming the image of a girl in a red dress, smiling brilliantly. It was the first time I had seen her outside of her vengeful form. She smiled so beautifully, so radiantly. She looked at me one last time, turned, and slowly walked toward a pillar of light in the sky. Ruby! I screamed her name hoarsely, but she didn't look back. Her figure vanished into the light. Ruby was gone. As her silhouette disappeared, the heavy clouds dispersed, and the sun returned. The entire cemetery was quiet again, as if the dramatic battle between human and demon had been an illusion. Only the patch of cooling black blood on the mud, the shattered sonic devices, and the lingering scent of ozone proved it was real. I knelt on the ground, completely devastated, all my strength drained. My world felt like it had collapsed alongside those fading golden lights. Diana collected her silver pistol and quietly walked toward me. She's free now, Diana said softly. Her resentment is gone, her obsession resolved. She can find peace and rebirth. This is the best ending for her. I ignored her, staring fixedly at the place where Ruby vanished, silent tears tracking down my face. The best ending? For me, it was the worst. Diana crouched beside me, silent for a moment, then spoke. I'm sorry. Sorry. I turned my head, my bloodshot eyes glaring at her. What good is sorry now? If it weren't for you, Ruby wouldn't have been scattered like that. I knew my accusation was unfair. If it weren't for her, both of us would likely be dead right now, consumed by the demon. But grief had overpowered my reason. I needed an outlet for my pain. Diana didn't argue. She simply accepted my rage. I know you're hurting, she said, but there are things you need to know. About me, about the Sentinels, and about Julian Price. I scoffed but said nothing. I am indeed a member of the Sentinels, Diana began to explain. We are a covert organization dedicated to handling supernatural occurrences and maintaining order in the mortal realm. I approached Julian Price not as his fiancé, but because we had long suspected he was involved in something sinister. We investigated multiple cases of young women who mysteriously disappeared or committed suicide. All clues pointed, directly or indirectly, to Julian Price. We suspected he was part of an occult organization using these women for ritual sacrifice. I was sent undercover to infiltrate and investigate. To gain his trust, I posed as a wealthy heiress who admired his talent. I became his curator and publicly announced our engagement. Diana's eyes flashed with disgust as she spoke. Then why did you target me? Why did you slander Ruby? I demanded. Because your appearance completely derailed our entire operation, Diana sighed. Our original plan was to use Julian as bait to track down the greater demonic organization behind him. Your and Ruby's quest for revenge panicked him and forced him to expose himself prematurely. The reason I made those statements to the media was twofold. First, to keep Julian complacent, making him believe I was still on his side. And second, she looked at me, her expression complex. It was to protect you. I realized you were just an ordinary man caught up in this mess. I didn't want you to lose your life. The money I offered you to leave was genuine. I wanted you out of this dangerous storm. I just didn't realize the depth of your devotion to her. I listened to her explanation, my anger slowly receding, replaced by numbness. My perception of love and revenge had, in the eyes of these people, merely been an inconvenient accident that disrupted their plan. The watch. I instinctively touched the antique timepiece on my wrist, now returned to its normal, unremarkable state. What was it exactly? I don't know. Diana shook her head. I could only sense that it held an incredibly pure, powerful, protective energy. That force shielded Ruby's soul at the last moment and gave her the opening to strike. It's certainly no ordinary object. Perhaps an ancient family heirloom. I was quiet. Ruby was an orphan. She had no family heirlooms. This watch, then, was likely the last great mystery of her life. What will you do now? Diana asked. I don't know. I shook my head blankly. Ruby was gone. Julian was dead. I was unemployed, and the entire internet knew me as a madman. My life had suddenly lost all direction. If you're willing, Diana hesitated, extending an invitation. You could consider joining the Sentinels. Join you? I was surprised. Yes. Diana looked at me with unprecedented seriousness. You are an ordinary man, but you are incredibly brave, loyal, and compassionate. And you seem to have a unique sensitivity, a constitution that can attract and soothe spirits. Most importantly, you've been through this. You understand the world we face. This world isn't as peaceful as it looks. In the shadows you can't see, there are countless demons like Julian Price and spirits like Ruby. We need more people like you to help maintain the balance. I looked at her outstretched hand, falling into a long silence. Join them? Become someone who walks in the darkness, dealing with demons and ghosts? It sounded even crazier than living with Ruby. But I looked down at the watch on my wrist. Its cool metal felt like a ghost of Ruby's touch. She was gone, but she had opened my eyes to a completely different world. A world full of danger, but also profound significance. If I could use my strength to help other innocent souls like Ruby, to prevent more tragedies like Julian Price's creation, wouldn't that be the ending she truly wished for? I looked up, meeting Diana's gaze, and slowly extended my hand. I'm in. My new life began in a way I never could have imagined. I moved out of the cramped apartment filled with my memories of Ruby. On moving day, I meticulously cleaned the entire place. In front of the bedroom door, I left a plate of her favorite lavender macarons and a fresh iced latte. I'm leaving, Ruby, I said to the empty room. I hope you're doing well, starting a new life in the next world. A slight breeze swept through the room, causing the straw in the iced latte cup to wobble gently, as if waving goodbye. I joined the Sentinels. The mysterious organization's headquarters was located beneath one of the city's major landmarks, the Prudential Tower. Above ground, tourists bustled. Below, it was another world entirely. It housed high-tech equipment I'd never heard of, databases filled with top-secret intelligence, and a group of companions like Diana, who held various civilian roles by day, but transformed into city guardians by night. Diana remained my direct supervisor. My first assignment was training, learning about spirits, demons, artifacts, and warding rituals. The things I used to only see in fiction were now my official textbooks. The process was tedious, but I studied earnestly. I knew this knowledge might save my life someday. Beyond theory, there was field work. Diana would take me along to handle relatively minor supernatural incidents. For example, calming the vengeful spirit of a student who committed suicide due to bullying in an abandoned school, or persuading the ghost of an old theater manager, obsessed with the stage, to move on. Every time I encountered these spirits, I thought of Ruby. I listened patiently to their stories, understood their pain, and found my own way to help them resolve their obsessions. Diana was right. I seemed to possess a special constitution. The chaotic and enraged spirits often calmed down in my presence. They seemed to sense an inherent kindness and warmth from me. I gradually adapted to this double life. By day, I was a discreet administrative clerk at the Sentinels, organizing files and analyzing intelligence. By night, I put on the specialized black uniform and joined Diana's task force, traversing the city to handle supernatural emergencies. I've dealt with seductive fox spirits and nightmares that feed on fear. I've navigated haunted buildings and explored deep ancient crypts. My life was exhilarating and dangerous, but filled with meaning. My relationship with Diana also evolved subtly. We were no longer superior and subordinate, nor were we awkward potential lovers. We shared a pure, stronger bond of comradeship. We trusted each other with our backs, and after a difficult mission, we would sit on a rooftop, drinking beer, watching the sunrise over the city. We talked about work, about the strange creatures we fought, but we mutually avoided mentioning Julian Price or Ruby. Those memories were locked away in the deepest corner of our hearts, until the day we received an urgent mission. Intelligence suggested that the demonic organization behind Julian Price had not dispersed after his death. They were moving again. They were secretly searching for something related to the watch Ruby had given me. In the organization's archives, I finally found a fragmented record about the watch. It wasn't called a relic of the ages. It had a much older name, the Guardian Heartstone. Legend said it was a divine stone formed at the dawn of time by the world's purest essence of protection, possessing powerful energy to guard souls and purify evil. It chose its own master and could only be fully activated by genuine, pure affection. Ruby gave it to me because she wanted to protect me. It finally unleashed its power because I wanted to protect her. The demon organization is searching for the Guardian Heartstone to use its power to open a sealed portal, Diana said, looking grimly at the files. We must stop them. The new mission had begun. I looked at the watch on my wrist, which had become an inseparable part of my life, and felt a profound calm. I knew the path ahead would be more dangerous, more difficult. But this time I wasn't alone. I had comrades fighting by my side, and in my heart, I held a silhouette that would never fade, and a belief that I needed to spend the rest of my life guarding. Ruby, do you see? I haven't let you down. I am using my own way to protect the world you once loved and once hated.